Are you taking AP classes as well, or is it one or the other? Okay. Mhm. Mhm.
Go ahead whenever you're ready. Right.
I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. Couple of thoughts. First of all, happy Irish Day to all my Irish kin, most of whom ended up here instead of there. Still a lovely place. Um, yeah. Okay. So let me call the Board of Education regular meeting to open session at 5:06 p.m. Note that the meeting is both recorded and live streamed for public viewing. We have a quorum present with all board members in attendance. I would like to welcome the community members in attendance this evening. It's always good to see you all here. As a reminder, governing board meetings are a business meeting of the board held in public, and although public participation is encouraged, it's not the public's meeting. It is the duty of the board president and/or clerk of the board to maintain an orderly, respectful, and peaceful meeting where all perspectives, voices, and opinions are welcome. Please refrain from speaking out while another person has the floor. Just don't speak over them. At the appropriate time on the agenda, individuals wishing to provide public comment will be called upon, one at a time, to do so in accordance with Board Bylaw 9323. The board will not respond to non-agendized items, but a staff member will reach out to you on matters that may need to be reviewed as appropriate. Item D1, the board met in closed session just now to consult with labor negotiators, conference with legal counsel concerning potential litigation, and to discuss employee discipline, dismissal, and/or release. No formal action was taken. Alana, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Gentlemen, remove your hats.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Isn't that a nice thing to be able to do?
Yeah.
The approval of agenda calls for a motion. D3,
So moved.
Second.
moved and seconded. Comments? Student preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Couple of thoughts. We can all see the housing unit developments sprouting up after the rain. It's sort of like, well, I won't go into weeds or anything like that, but more are being planned. And the same is true with Temecula. You can see that too when you drive down and through there. As a school community, I think we need to focus our efforts on where new students will go to school. MVUSD has decades of proven fiscal responsibility to manage our budgets and growth. We've done, I think, really well. Together, we face these challenges as we provide high-quality school facilities that match our high-achieving schools. And to speak about, for a moment, about high-achieving schools, it's really fun to be able to, tonight, tell you that the state of California has recognized 3 of our schools as distinguished schools. Murrieta Valley has 3 schools qualifying for that distinction. That's more schools than any other district in Riverside or San Bernardino County, who have much larger numbers of schools per district. This recognition continues the promise and reputation of MVUSD as a high-quality system, and we really want to keep it that way. And we are thankful for the teachers, for all the staff, right down to the groundskeepers who every day do their work diligently and well to make sure that we keep that high quality. The other thing is, all our families received a digital brochure of our workplace readiness efforts, also known as career readiness or pathways. It describes what we're changing to do in focus from College for All, which was, well, I won't go into that, to a new phase, or phrase, most high school credential, post-high school credential for all, meaning formal military training after high school. This may be an apprenticeship, college or university degree, military career, trade school. We want all our students to chart their own path. And we've sent everybody in the community one of these brochures, and I hope you get a chance to read it and discuss it and give us your thoughts on it. It's going well, and I believe it's going in the right direction. Okay. Dr. Andrus, special recognition, Murrieta Valley Unified School District 2024 California Distinguished Schools.
So as you mentioned, Mr. Diffley, this last week, our state superintendent issued a list of all of the distinguished schools in California, and we had 3. So we're going to recognize them tonight. So I'm going to ask representatives of each of our schools if they would come forward and meet me at the dais there, and I'll speak from there. So someone from Dorothy McElhaney. Oh, great. Tom Patain is here, our principal. Come on up. Thank you. Representative from Vista Murrieta High School. Celeste Scallion. Oh, I know. And also from Murrieta Mesa. All right, one of our assistant principals. Thank you. These are not the official ones come from Department of Education. So we just want to take a quick photo with you. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Andrus. Now we have the pleasure of hearing from our student representatives. First, Megan Lewis, Murrieta Valley High School.
Hi guys, I'm glad to be back. So funny story about the PowerPoint. I did not procrastinate this time, but pictures were not working. So
Okay.
let's. There we go. So academic-wise, our juniors are taking the CASP and CAST testing. This week they did science. I think that's going well, and senior wings are now in session, which is basically, I don't know if you guys know what Wind Beneath My Wings is. If not, it's basically where like students get to nominate a teacher and say, this is why like you impacted my high school career, and that's really fun. We had Student of the Month, and that was like language building, world languages nominated a student like that was outstanding and completed all their work. As you know, the end of our 6-week grading period happens like 5 weeks ago. and the 12-week grading period is coming to an end very soon. And all of our 10th, what? Wait, hold on. English is not happening today, but freshmen through 11th grade have selected their classes for next year. And to the right, we have our CASP and CAST incentives, which is basically a free homecoming ticket, prom ticket. Very fun. Night activities. It's been a really busy few months. So as you know, we have Scholar Bowl happening. Izzy's a part of that. But it's really fun to watch all these students come together and compete. Actually, we're doing something new this year. We're doing a competition with Mesa and Vista, and that's gonna be very fun. MV's hosting it, so should be interesting to see what team wins. We have Mr. Nighthawk coming up. This is the week for that. If you don't know what that is, it's basically where senior boys have a competition, like a beauty pageant.
Yeah.
It's really funny to watch. So we have some dress-up days. Monday was camo. Tuesday was sporty Barbie. Wednesday was quarantine Barbie. Basically, get it? It was March 13th when COVID happened. So we're
Yeah.
let's be lazy.
Oh.
Today was Malibu Barbie, and tomorrow is Pink Out. And if you don't know, if you can't tell, it was Barbie themed. It's really funny. And then we had our spring showcase happened Monday, which is a showcase where parents and incoming 9th graders can come on campus and see what we have to offer. Mock trial is doing super well too. I'm just gonna throw this in there. They have one student going to states, and all of their seniors are doing well. They're placed 4th. And then we have our student games happening still. It's called Terminator. It's basically where students have a target and they have to try to get them out with a sticky note. That's always fun to watch. They are doing crazy safe zones. They had to have a ball in their arm and then pillows on their head throughout the whole day. And if they don't, they can get out. Let's see if the video's gonna play. So those were all the boys that are competing tomorrow. If you don't have anything to do, really recommend going. It's going to be really funny to watch. Athletic-wise, we have a lot happening. First, we've had our track and field athletes break 3 school-wide records within the past 2 weeks, I want to say. It's really impressive. I don't get how they run. My friend's yeah, I'm doing it. I love running. And I'm okay, how are we friends here? That's too much running. And then they have a meet today at home, and that's going well. Baseball and softball are doing really well. They're currently, baseball is 8-1, and then softball's 8-7. Wait, no, got them mixed up. Baseball's 8-2. They're doing really well. They have a game tomorrow at home, and then softball is currently 7-8, and they're killing it. They played Shop yesterday, and they won 14-4. Don't know what that means. Don't get baseball or softball, but I know that's pretty good. Stunt had a competition yesterday at Vista against Shap. I'm 99% sure they won. Swim has meets throughout the whole week, starting tomorrow, throughout the weekend. Boys and girls lacrosse are going pretty well. Girls lacrosse is 8-3, and they had a game yesterday. So I think they lost that one, and they're doing really well other than that. So this slide, like I said, internet was not working. Tried doing it at school. And as you guys know, internet at school doesn't really work half the time. It works and then it's gone. So the pictures did not come, but we had Special Olympics last Friday, and that was unified softball. And basically, students loved it. There was I'm not a cheerleader, but they were stunting a kid. And our athletes and students love doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Haven and Nosy. Marietta Mesa High School.
Well, hello. Happy daylight savings time, I guess. Losing an hour, I'm feeling it this week. It's fine. All right. So I would like to consider March the thick of the semester. Mesa is very, very busy. So let's get right into it. First things first, this past Monday, we had our incoming freshman open house. I even saw Dr. Ward there. I see Dr. Ward all of the time. Like at this point, he's a certified Ram, for sure. But it's always a pleasure to see you, Dr. Ward. Basically, what we had was basically a small rally, letting our incoming freshmen get a taste of what it's like at Mesa. And there's this video from it. So they walked down this aisle of people cheering for them. That's Rocky the Ram. He's very buff. So yeah, that's basically how you enter Mesa. Very spirited. Our Chinese Culture Club also had their Lunar New Year Festival last month. There was food, face painting, a bunch of cultural dances and songs and things like that. Very, very cool. And then things I don't have pictures of. We had a Mesa Men MSJC trip. They visited the STEM building at MSJC and they got to tour all the facilities, talk to the counselors, and look into what they're planning to do after high school. We also have been having a lot of Army fairs. So we've had these simulation, like plane simulators, boat simulators, and then we also had this entire day where the Army and their different sectors came, like medical, legal, engineering, air stuff, I don't know. And then we also had, and I think this is the coolest as an athlete, Helinski's Hope come last Friday. Helinski's Hope is a nonprofit dedicated to Tyler Helinski, who unfortunately committed suicide, mental health awareness. So they just come and preach about mental health awareness, especially in the space of sports. Also, they mentioned Mr. Nighthawk. We have Mr. Mesa coming up March 29th. So we're really excited for that. Now athletics. Now usually, yes, that kid is doing a bat foot right there. Yeah, we're just like that. Sorry. Usually, this is the shortest of my presentation, but you know, I got a lot of stats today. Okay, so first of all, yes, you heard Marita Mesa Rams took a win against Vista. Not only in softball, no. We did not stop there. No, in stunt. Yeah, 7-4 for softball and 28-4 for stunt. Oh, so sad. We also are taking dubs against TV for volleyball, track and field for Chaparral High School, swim 105-65 for Liberty. That's insane to me. Like, I don't understand, like, treading and swimming, no. And then we also, Lax is doing girls lacrosse is doing great in their preseason meets. They're 8-1 right now, and they're back to back, soon to be back to back league champs. So we're looking forward to that. And then academics. So we have the CASP testing, as you all know. We also completed our WASP visit, which is the Western Association of Schools and Colleges. It's an accreditation program, and basically it's valid for the 6 years, but we had our 3-year in the middle mark, and out of the 22 schools that our people looked at, they said that Mesa was the only one on track that completed their 6-year goals in a 3-year time span. So go Rams. And then also 328 of our 594 seniors received a grade bump from getting good grades on the CASP last year. And then, like Mr. Ward said, Dr. Ward said, we got the California Distinguished School Award. And we've also completed our NAEP, our National Assessment of Educational Process test. I don't know what that's called, but yeah. And then that's it. We are Mesa, go Rams. And use this Sunday, St. Patrick's Day, as an excuse to wear some Mesa gear.
Avery Redmond from Marietta Canyon Academy, welcome.
Hello, everyone, and happy Pi Day. So we've done some pretty exciting things this month. Some things that like really, really fun. We took art, construction, and leadership to Garner Holt Education Through Imagination, which is an animatronic factory. So we learned about different careers in robotics, engineering, coding, voice acting, art, and we got to try some sculpting. We did a sculpting class. That was really fun. we got these little, oh my God, I'm in that picture. We got these little kits with like human face measurements, and we did a whole class, and we got to take it home and try it over and over again. It was really cool. Learned a lot about different career paths that I didn't even know were a thing. Continuing with our staff recognition through leadership, birthday posters, thank you posters, super fun. And then we planned another Fun Friday activity. This time it was capture the flag. It got pretty intense. Pretty fun. Something that's really cool, we're looking for ways to add like more to our basketball court. And so the math students were tasked with planning, like doing the measurements for a 9-square game for Fun Fridays. And then our environmental science classes got to do a water pollution lab where we got to make a water filter and test it out on different things. We celebrated School Resource Officer Appreciation Day, super fun. We made her a poster, brought her some balloons. It was fun. She's super nice. Recently, we just did the Meet Your Army event for some alternative careers in the military. And instead of just what you would think of, we explored like the lesser known careers in the Army. We got to learn about science. Public relations was pretty interesting. Photography and nursing. A lot of people were interested also in the veterinary science. And then we also
Hey,
in leadership.
real quick,
Yes.
explosives. How did that go?
Explosive. I wasn't there for that presentation, but you did come into our classroom. It was a fan favorite, I think. When you came in and asked what we remembered from the fair, from the event, everyone said explosives.
Okay. But we didn't blow anything up that day. Okay.
Maybe.
Maybe. The school looked fine. So
Classroom was not destroyed. And then I didn't include it in here, but our leadership has been doing some really cool things with construction. So for our prom, which is Tangled themed, construction was tasked with building a boat for photo shoots. So they should be finishing that up soon. And then our mental health awareness club, I really wanted to make the campus more welcoming to new students because of a lot of people come in during the second semester in the middle of the year and feel really nervous. I wanted to add some succulents and plants right at the front just to make people feel more welcome. So those are some of our other projects that we're doing. And that is all from this month. Thank you.
I have to say at this point, it's very interesting that you said that, and I think someone else mentioned it too, that you learned about some occupations that you never knew existed. And hopefully we'll flood you with those in the next few years because they're just happening every day, it seems like. Next, we'd like to hear from Alana Elliott from Marietta High School. Mr. Marietta, sorry. Mr. Marietta. Oh, I
Thank
see
you. We
have
can't say Marietta Valley. Oh, Marietta. We're Vista Marietta.
Or
Saving the best for
SDSU.
last.
I see.
Awesome. So for academics, we have our juniors taking the CAS testing this week, and we also have the CASP testing next week, and then the junior JRT is set date for April 10th. And we also have the seniors are now getting in their acceptance letters. Not to flex or anything, but got in. I know. Sorry,
was
just
gonna ask that.
had to put that out there real quick. Awesome. At Vista right now, we have a lot of things going on. This last week, some of our teachers on campus, they went into the CATA conference, and they went and presented a bunch of things. I know my leadership advisor, she presented and boasted about our homecoming since it is the best in the area and maybe in the state, I might say. So that was awesome. And then also our ASB and Senate programs. ASB won the most outstanding leadership program. And then our Senate program, for the first time ever, we applied for the Excellence in Service Award, and we ended up winning that one. And on a side note, one of our sophomores, Taylor Arun, she went out to be go apply for the Council Board, and she's actually a finalist for the Council Board, which is awesome. We're starting to get that flow back of having Vista leaders be a part of the Council Board. So I'm very proud of her. She's a sophomore. She's going to do some great things. And then also we have our Cars and Culture event coming up. This is a big event. It's one of our biggest events that our Senate program puts on. It's really nice to see all the different cultures, not only from like seeing all the different cars that our community has, but also seeing the different cultures we have. And we always have like different types of clubs come out and put food over, like all the different types of food. And it's just such a cool event. And like we always give awards, like the best car. And I know this year we added a new category of the best motorcycle because we're just having so much growth in our in this event. And then for activities on the ranch, we had our spring sports rally, which this theme was Freaky Friday. So we did everything backwards. So instead of starting with the Pledge of Allegiance, we ended with the Pledge of Allegiance. So we just did things completely different, kind of spiced it up. And I don't know if you can tell, but in the bottom right corner out of the 4 pictures, one of our aides, he came out on a motorcycle and like did a little motorcycle spin for everyone. It got the crowd really hyped and it was really fun. And you can just see some of my ASB friends, they were dressed a little wacky, but it was really nice to see that. And then we had our Scholar Bowl event, which is awesome. It's always, it blows my mind, the random facts these kids know. Like, I'm like flabbergasted. Like, I wish I could make it through the first round, but I couldn't even do that. These kids were like knowing things back to back. I'm like, wow, to have that brain. And then we also had NomCon last week. In case you didn't know what NomCon is, it's basically where all of our leadership kids and even kids not in leadership, they hold a booth and they like give a speech about what position they want to run for. So like class officers and then ASB and Senate cabinet. It was sports themed this year, so they all had like different sports. And then we also did like each table of delegates, they were like different sports teams. It was really fun to watch, and there's always really good food. And then today was actually our elections for the class and cabinet officers, and we will be releasing the results tomorrow. And then hopefully next meeting I'll be bringing my new ASB president alongside with me so they can see how this goes. And then a clip, things that aren't on here is we have our Mr. Bronco March 29th as well. And I'm really excited. It's superhero themed, and it's going to be awesome to see all the boys come out. And they do like a pickup line segment where they like say a funny pickup line. Hearing some of their pickup lines is the most cringy yet funny thing ever. And then they also do like a segment where they like do like a talent. So I know we have some like, so we have like a magician, we have someone singing, we have someone playing the guitar. So we have like a bunch of different things. It's nice to see all the secret talents that I didn't know these boys had. And then we also have our staff versus student basketball game that our BBC program hosts, which also I will be partaking in. I will be breaking some teachers' ankles. I'm ready for it. It's going to be the 29th. It's a really fun event. It always gets our crowd very excited because we have the one lunch and all the students fill the gym, and it's just a really fun event to like not only see the staff take part in, but like also all the senior students take part in that don't actually play basketball. So it's always really fun. Now, holy cannoli, do we have a lot of athletics. I couldn't even fit all of them on here. We got so many. So I'm going to start off with boys golf. They're 0-2, but they're working hard and they're working towards league. And then we have boys and girls swim. They actually have a meet today. And then we have baseball. They're 5-2 with league starting on Monday with TV. Those boys are crushing it. That team is full of a bunch of D1 commits in case you didn't know. So they're going to be the team to beat this year in league. And so I'm excited to see how they go. And then our track and field actually had a meet today, which I was at before this, and they are crushing it. Like, they are sprinting, they are running, even with the crazy winds. I don't know if you felt the winds today, but holy cow, I think that made them faster because, my gee, they are fast. And then our softball, they have a record of 5-4. They are crushing it. They just played a tournament, and they got second place. Our girls' stunt team, they had one game so far, and then they had a game yesterday, which unfortunately they did lose, but they're working hard. We're gonna get you guys. I can't read it. It's too far. And then our boys lacrosse, holy are they beating it. They have a record of 7-1, beating some of the top teams in Division I, including the reigning Division II champs of Santiago. Currently, they are ranked 15 in the southern section, according to lax numbers, and they are finishing their preseason with Friday, and then they're starting league on Monday with going against Temecula Valley. Then girls lacrosse. Little fun fact, I'm on the girls lacrosse team. And we are crushing it. One of my teammates, Riley Jarrett, she actually just broke the state record, California state record of 11 goals in one game. 11 goals. So she's on fire. We're coming for league titles. So I don't know if that's true, Avon. Vista might come on top for lacrosse. And then our boys tennis, they've played a couple games with their multiple doubles match winning in each game, and then they have their first league match on March 12th, which was yesterday or today. No, I got the dates wrong, okay? And then boys volleyball, league just started up for boys volleyball. They won their first two league games against Temecula Valley and Marietta Valley. Starting off strong, and then on March 14th, they will go against Mesa to keep their streak going. And that is all I have for you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Board members, any comments?
I'm going to that car show. Next, I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be there.
I'd like a picture of the succulent garden maybe next meeting.
I keep looking at that 57 Chevy and thinking, oh boy, I had a 56 convertible and I wish I'd never sold it. But anyhow, moving on. Thank you guys and gals. And if you have busy schedules and want to take off and go to In-N-Out, study. Okay, now we'll move on and talk about hear public comments. Everyone who wishes to address the board is asked to complete a request to address the Board of Education card located at the entrance to the boardroom and submit it to the executive assistant to the superintendent and board. In attendance with Board Bylaw 9373, the board shall limit the total time for public input on each item for 20 minutes. To allow the opportunity for more individuals to be heard on each item, the board may adjust each individual speaker's time based on the number of comments received for each topic. However, a single speaker will not be allowed more than 3 minutes to address the board, or you will be taken into custody. Oh, no, it didn't say that here. The board shall take no action or discussion on any item not appearing on the posted agenda except as authorized by law. So here we go.
We have 12 comment cards and on very different subjects. There's no need to adjust anyone. So
Oh, great.
here's the first two.
Karen Poznanski first, and Colleen Cochran. Johnny Cochran, sorry. Welcome.
On August 10th, 2023, Board Policy 5020.1 was passed with a narrow 3-2 vote. This forced outing policy has detrimental effects, specifically on the safety of our LGBTQ+ students in Marietta. It stands as a stark contradiction to their right to a safe educational environment, disproportionately impacting their well-being. On September 14th, 2023, I stood before you with my own child to speak out against this policy. Subsequently, I, along with others, reiterated our concerns multiple times to this board, with no action. I'm here tonight to notify you that a universal complaint has been lodged with the California Department of Education, and CDE responded this week with a direct state intervention notification letter. They reviewed our case and determined it is necessary to accept direct intervention in this case. It's important to note that Rockland Unified School District faced a similar challenge, and their identical policy was successfully contested. In their 12-page report, the California Department of Education declared that the policy violated numerous sections of the California Education Code, including sections 200, 220, 221.5, 233.5, alongside Title V and Title IX violations. The ruling mandated the immediate termination of the policy and warned of severe consequences for noncompliance, including the withholding of state and federal fiscal support. Furthermore, Mr. Diffley, your alignment with Mr. Pardue and Mrs. Vandergrift in passing this policy cannot be overlooked. Prior to you making the final deciding vote, you stated on record that you knew of the violence that would come to students with this policy. You spoke about parents exploding. You spoke about children being beaten and spanked when their parents were notified of how they identified at school. I'm here to let you know that your comments, as quoted, are also being investigated. It's not a good look as we head into November. However, this was taken further than the CDE investigation. Complaints have also been notified with the American Civil Liberties Union of Southern California. In addition, a complaint was filed on the federal level with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights, who promptly responded to me with a case number to begin an investigation as well. With 2 active investigations against our district, I implore this board to rescind this policy now before our award-winning district becomes a mockery and subject to state and federal sanctions over an illegal policy that cannot be enforced. As I've said before, my children have learned exactly what their father and I have taught them, to stand up and fight for what is right. They bear witness today that we continue to fight back against hatred and discrimination, and we will not back down. Thank you.
Following Ms. Cochran will be Lucky Haratunian. Welcome.
So I'm Jolene Cochran, mother of 2 elementary age girls. I'm back speaking because of one in particular person. I've spoken about this person before. She doesn't seem to get a clue, so I'm going to try again. Okay. Nancy. Hey. Okay. I come here often. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to look at this. I'm just going to look at you and say what I have to say. I watch you constantly. I watch everybody up here constantly. She knows I used to come at her, but at least she's professional enough to actually be respectful and not sit there and roll their eyes and make stupid expressions on their face that are completely immature. It's like, why are you here if you can't even do your one job and be mature? Just go, like resign or do something else, because this is obviously not for you if you can't actually be like an actual mature human being while sitting up there. Like, I understand that you can hide behind the Browns Act and not say anything and reply back to anybody if that's what you want to hide behind. Fine, but it just proves my point. You don't belong up there. That's it.
Lucky Haratunian will be followed by Kelly Parsons. Welcome.
Evening, Board. I have a question. I wanted to know if the board was told that as of April 23rd, Homeland Security came to this district to inspect 5 schools in this district, and I'm curious as to whether you knew or not. There is definitely a report that was given by them that you guys all need to read. They came and inspected Vista High School, Marietta Valley High School, Chavela Junior High School, Rail Ranch Elementary School, and Alta Marietta Elementary School. I wish they had inspected Buchanan. I got to walk with them on one of the campuses, Rail Ranch, and they indicated that signs needed to be put up on the fence to indicate the area is being surveillanced ASAP. And they needed security guards in place. They needed to change completely the front office. These elementary schools are being hammered, and we just had another trans shooter on February 13th, 24. And our elementary schools are getting nailed by transgender. So if you got Homeland Security saying that Rail Ranch needs that front office redone completely to protect the staff and the students, that needs to get done. They said only one gate should be open, the rest of them, and as soon as the children get in, it should be locked. They said that the entry, for entry for those doors need to be locked inside. All the classroom doors need to be locked inside. They also indicated, which is extremely important, the fences need to be 7 feet or higher. And when I asked them, well, that's going to be a severe cost to the district in replacing all these fences that are not higher than 7 feet. They indicated that when I asked them what can be done to these fences, they indicated outrigger. There are, this one particular thing, outrigger, can be attached to the fences and raise the height. And I shared that with your superintendent. He said it was not aesthetically pleasing. It's not about aesthetics. Your number one job is to protect the students. There's no other way around that. So I needed you to know that. Please look at that report because it's important. And Mr. Velk should be given an award. That man is doing everything possible to protect these children. Thank you.
Kelly Parsons.
Oh, good evening, board. Sorry, I didn't see my time went. Mr. Diffley, I want to thank you, or President Diffley, I want to thank you for your opening comments this morning about the people that work in MVUSD and the amazing facilities we have. It worked in perfectly with my comments this evening. The bond measure that is currently being researched and discussed would allow for much needed upgrades to all campuses to our amazing district. MVUSD should let voters decide. We got this in the mail at our house, and it is amazing and huge and gives us a really great idea of all of the things that are needed in our district. Next year, I will begin my 20th year with the district, and I will proudly begin my day in M114 over at Vista Marietta. I've loved being in my classroom for 2 decades. I don't look like it. However, that means my portable classroom is now feeling the effects of those years. Our facilities should reflect the high-quality education that is being provided to our students. The classroom should exhibit the stellar learning that is taking place in those spaces. I was able to review the comprehensive information provided to you and was sadly not surprised to see a picture of my own building as an example of what needs upgrades. My carpet is being replaced this summer, and that is because of the years of wear and tear from the 3,500 students that have been a part of my teaching career. My ceiling tiles have been replaced multiple times because of water damage, and my internet keeps going out, much to the chagrin of our incredible tech department. They cannot figure out what is going on and have indicated that it may just be the systems are getting too old. I urge you to let the voters decide to approve the bond. Allow them to vote and prove that once again, Marietta cares deeply about our students, their learning environments, and the educators who work so hard to ensure that every student is able to think, learn, to achieve, and to care. Thank you.
Kelly Parsons, followed by, oh, that was you, sorry. Rudy Craw, followed by Dr. Stephen James. Welcome.
How are you guys?
It's a good day.
Nice to see you. I'm working on my drawing on both sides of your brain. The conventional thinking is drawing on the right side of your brain. That's taught in every school in the United States, every university throughout the world. But this is not correct thinking. Drawing on both sides of your brain. You use your brain simultaneously. And this concept that kids are either creative or they're conceptual, this is a destructive concept because they can be creative and intelligent and use both of their brains simultaneously. That's what I do. If you do this, go like this, you start to cross wire your brain. Try it. You'll see it works. And then you use both hemispheres. You need to have both hemispheres when you're solving problems because you get stuck on concepts and then they dry up and then you start to paint them and then you start to see where the concepts then continue. I can paint anything that's in my brain, any style, uh, Dali, um, Van Gogh, Rembrandt. I can do anything. Bosch, M.C. Escher, but he's the most difficult. There's no one will ever be as good as Escher. So my book is drawing on both sides of your brain, and this is what needs to be taught because all of the kids and what everyone wants, even as adults, your intellectual property is the most important thing that you own. You can get rid of all your furniture and have it all burn up and everything, but it's your pictures, it's your ideas, your concepts, your stories, your poems, your songs that you've written, your tape. That's what's valuable to you. It's your intellectual property. That's who you are. And, you know, if I define myself, I'm SGCIA. I'm a super genius, creative, intelligent artist. That's what I am. I'm on par with Elon Musk and Dr. Shiva. I'm not just a writer and an artist and a rap artist and a rock singer and all that stuff, because I do all that stuff too. But I'm also a scientist. There isn't any field of study that I can't get in 6 weeks and not make a quantum leap on the most difficult concept in that field. I could even work for DARPA right now and build wireless chipping on everybody. That's one of my projects. You don't have to have hardware inside of you. I can chip you with your DNA. So I could track everybody in the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was nice to meet you guys again. Thank you.
Dr. Stephen James, who will be followed by Chris Tomazian. Welcome.
Good evening. As you said, I'm Dr. Stephen James, and I'm again here on behalf of a family that I represent. Apologize for the voice. We had an investigation in bullying done by your law firm, and it was improper. It was not done in a comprehensive way. It's not factual, and it should have started with once upon a time. Okay? She did what she needed to do to defend this district and not do what was best for the child and get to what was actually happening. Okay? She found blame with the child and with the family, okay, and not with the system itself that you have here. As you can see, I'm angry because as an educator, I believe in the system, but also as a former police officer, retired detective, I know how to do an investigation and I know how to destroy a report that's not comprehensive. And yes, we're going to have to file an appeal with the CDE, and it should never have to happen. All we wanted to do was sit down and have a conversation and see what we could do to take care of this issue, okay? At this school, it's been going on for years. I've lived here for over 20 years, okay? And I've observed this. There's just so many bullies in our community that are never dealt with, and you allow it to continue to go on. You justify their behavior, and it just continues to compound and compound to where these families, luckily, my family and I moved up here a week after that young man decided to shoot up Santana High School. Okay, I lived there for 17 years. Okay, this is not going to get to that. Okay, but this is what happens to children who cannot take care of this system themselves. Because how do you beat a bully? You punch him in the mouth, but you don't do that in school. Okay, so they're trying to get this done and get these things done correctly. This whole thing is bad optics. Yes, your attorney's law firm could do this, but it should have been done outside of your current law firm. The optics itself shows that she possibly is close friends with a cabinet member, okay? Went to the same college, possibly attends the same church, okay? The optics are bad. When the child also sees the principal high-five the bullies in front of her, that takes away her power. Okay, this investigation is a complete sham and needs to be relooked at. Okay, we just want to sit down and talk and see what we can get done. But apparently that's not how we do things here any longer. There's a gentleman in this room I used to deal with many years ago. We might have agreed to disagree, but I always felt heard. Okay, always felt heard by that gentleman. Okay, but I don't feel that any longer. Okay, and our families are tired of it. They're destroyed by this investigation and what your outcome was. And then the letter that they received this past week, I had to pull out some of the positives. They didn't understand. They thought they were being the ones that were looked at as the ones having bad behavior. So again, thank you.
After Ms. Tamazian, we'll hear from Alex Carranza.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. I would like to congratulate our 3 California distinguished schools, Vista Murrieta High School, Murrieta Mesa High School, and McElhaney Middle School. These schools join over a dozen other schools in our district who have previously received this distinction. This honor reflects years of hard work by teachers, staff, administrators at both the site and district level, and yes, even prior board members, all who were acutely focused on student learning. The success of our schools is not by accident. Much research has been done on how to improve student learning, and our district has benefited from this emphasis on evidence-based practices. For example, students whose parents are engaged in their education do better in school. So throughout the years, increasing family engagement has been a district focus. Also, research shows that students who are involved in school are more successful academically. So effort has been made to increase club and activity options for students. Music education enhances academic achievement and connects students to school. So Murrieta offers the largest array of music programs around. Teacher and staff professional development is another factor. I could go on, but you get the idea. Unfortunately, we have 2 new board members who are trying to distract the district from the focus on student learning. One criticizes teachers at nearly every meeting. The other has proposed policies to supposedly inform parents of all the horrible things that are happening at their children's schools. Yet, this new board member has never had a child in our schools, or in any public school for that matter, to even know what is occurring. If she were to take the time to participate, as thousands of parents do, as a classroom volunteer in PTA, on a parent advisory committee, or in a booster club, she would know what awesome schools there are in our district. I strongly encourage these 2 new board members to join with the rest of the board and our staff to focus on what has been and should be our primary goal, student learning.
Thank you. After Mr. Carranza, we'll hear from Catherine Vejos.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Alex. I'm a current student at Murrieta Mesa High School. Now, I had a whole speech on the senior culminating project, but I believe that is not an agenda item. So I do believe you guys have my number and my...
You can speak.
I can speak on it?
Yes.
All right. So I'm sure you're all familiar with the Senior Culminating Project. If not, then the Senior Culminating Project is a project that includes a student's career and academic plans, along with the possible obstacles and challenges that might bring. Now, our problem isn't the project itself. In fact, I believe that it can be used to determine one's future plans and make students prepared. The problem I have is the fact that it's a graduation requirement. You see, you can be a great student, but have no idea what to become in the future. I have no plans of going to college, and having the SCP as a requirement not only applies pressure to these students, but also strips their chances of graduating if they fail. Speaking about failing, another issue that the SCP brings is the mentors. You know, I have a fellow classmate whose mentor failed them just because they didn't believe being a realtor was a real job. So not only does he have to redo the whole entire project, but he might be able to graduate. You see, I have no problem with the SCP being an assignment, but what bothers me is the fact that it's a graduation requirement. Now, I don't know whether that's up to the schools or the districts to change that, but I do know that something has to be done about it. Thank you.
Thank you. And after Mrs. Vegas, we'll hear from Francis Burns. Welcome.
Hello, school board members. I'm back again, as all of you can see. I'm here to address the actions of two of your teachers from Marietta Valley High School. These teachers are both men, and they can't learn when to be silent about their conservative and political views and religious views. One of these teachers chose to harass me for not standing for the pledge and proceeded to glare at me for staying seated. I don't have to remind you, or maybe I do, that it is within my right to remain seated under the First Amendment, which is freedom of speech. As for the other teacher, he continues to push his Christian agenda on myself and my other classmates by pretty much writing Bible verses on his whiteboard and has a big Bible on his desk, like displayed for people to see. This he does when he's clearly supposed to be teaching government AP and US history. Right now I am standing in front of all 6 of you, and I'm looking at you all directly in the eyes, asking you, please do better and please take more action with all of your schools especially, not just MVHS. My learning environment is at stake and in jeopardy at the moment. Please take more action, school board members. I would really appreciate that from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Following Francis Burns will be Greg Langworthy. Welcome.
Good evening, board members, student member Izzy Dadalt, President Diffley, and Dr. Andrus. Hope everybody is well this evening. First thing I want to do is I want to thank Faith, sitting over to my right, for paving the way for Chris Shore to do the Math Institute next year. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. The reason I'm here at the moment is I was looking through the proposed safety plan for my school, and there was a paragraph that stuck out at me. It reads, and this is the one on agenda item G3, suspension shall be imposed only when other means of correction fail to bring about proper conduct. However, a pupil, including an individual with exceptional needs as defined in section blah, 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 may be suspended for any reason or enumerated in section blah, blah, blah. Upon first offense, if the principal or assistant principal of the school determines that the pupil violated subdivisions A, B, C, D, E of section blah, 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 or the pupil's presence causes a danger to persons or property or threatens to disrupt the instructional process. What stuck out at me is I'm assuming, without reading, that these sections here, A, B, C, D, E, are more of the, I'm assuming they are more of the egregious acts. And if they are, what I'm wondering is well, I would like the board to consider prioritizing a policy that states that instead of the administrators may suspend on a first offense, that you strongly advise that they do that. You know, teachers and students in our schools are working very hard to learn. And sometimes there's a very small percentage of our population that do things that, well, are frankly egregious. And I'm of the opinion that you should take a strong stance as a board and as a school district. And whether it's their first offense or not, there are things that you need to send a message to these students about. And I just hope you consider, what I'm proposing to you. make sure that you kind of draw a line in the sand, and that these more egregious acts, that they're prioritized, and that you advise that the administrators, hey, these acts are beyond the pale. They need to be suspended first offense without giving a leash. But that's just my my advice or my suggestion. The other thing is that I can tell you, as somebody who at one time had a real estate license, being a realtor is a real job. Thank you very much for listening.
Following Mr. Langworthy will be Teresa Wells.
About that, I just dumped my coffee on your carpet. But my friend of mine is going to go clean it up. So good evening, board. Just wanted to talk about the Protect Kids initiative. I want to read the 3 things that are in this and eventually get your reaction to it. First thing, it requires schools to notify parents regarding their children's mental health concerns identified in school settings, including gender identification issues. Protects girls' competitive sports and school spaces to be for biological girls only. And number 3, prevents the sterilization of children by prohibiting the use of puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, mastectomies, and genital surgeries for minors. The reason why I thought this was great that this came up was because my wife and I had a discussion with Ward some months ago, and our concern was that the girls were being allowed to go in the boys' locker rooms, vice versa. Ward said, hey, my hands are tied. I can't do anything because of state law. This would change state law, and I think it would be a blessing and a protection for the kids. And I know especially during high school, you know, kids need these guardrails. They need to know that parents are going to know what's happening. They need to know that parents are there, adults are there to protect them from doing things that they're later going to regret in life. And oftentimes that causes controversy, but that's kind of what our job is parents and teachers, is to do what's right for the kids, no matter what the blowback might be. I've raised 5 kids, and we had some vigorous discussions during high school years about these issues, but as part of the job of a parent and a part of a job as you as school board members is to keep kids going in a good direction so later they'll be able to graduate, get a job, get married, have a family. I always told my kids in that order. And so I think this would be a good thing for you guys to come out and support. Just like you're supporting the bond measure is good for the school, you could support this initiative is good for the school. Encourage parents to vote for this, to put those guardrails in place, and would give somebody like Ward the legal authority to do what probably he wants to do anyway. So I would just like to recommend that maybe you speak on this issue. And thank you for the work that you're doing.
Okay. Welcome.
Good evening, Dr. Andrus, President Diffley, and all board members. It's a wonderful night, and I'm pleased as punch that the community is now celebrating the California Distinguished Schools Award given to 3 Murrieta Valley Unified Campuses. This high honor further proves what we all know, that despite a few current hiccups, which we need to fix, that this is the best school district in the entire Riverside County. With all those new townhouses being built, it will attract parents who want their children to attend our distinguished schools. So everybody please support that bond measure. I would like to remind those watching that this school board has had a rough time in the past year due to the addition of 2 extremist board members who keep criticizing the school district. Holy cow, elections are right around the corner. 8 months isn't that far away. And I'd like to ask our people in attendance to please watch out for campaign brochures that lie. That's why we are in this position, and we have one school board member who
goodness gracious, she homeschooled all 6 of her children, yet she was voted by the voters to be on the school board. Now, many of you here are fond of her, but I don't think that that was a wise choice to put someone who homeschools all their kids on the board. Again, please watch out for false campaign brochures in the coming election. It's not that far away. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, thank you all for your remarks. I'd like to hear from Kimberly Benning-Shevlin, President of the MEA.
Well, good evening. Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Andrus, and guests.
Can you pull that microphone just a little
Closer?
bit closer? Yeah.
Sure. I'm happy to share some of the activities MEA has been involved in since we last met. On February 27th, I attended the MVUSD School Board Planning Workshop. Mrs. Munchnick provided an overview of this year's LCAP document in which the metrics of the LCAP were discussed in small table groups. The day included a panel discussion with several outside agencies that focused a discussion on future district facilities needs. The city planner for the city of Murrieta was in attendance and presented several maps outlining the areas of construction in the city. The MVUSD school district boundaries were presented, examined, and discussed. The meeting provided plenty of future action items to think about. MEA and the district have held several bargaining sessions and are working toward agreement in many areas that benefit our educators and in turn provide benefit to our students. We anticipate many more productive sessions in the coming months as we work on corrections and modifications to the contract to meet the changing needs of our district programs. Topics we are discussing include co-teaching and inclusion, TK and kinder schedules, elementary VAPA, and specialized student support personnel fixed day calendar issues. And that is all I have. So have a good night.
That's a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, and you liked the city planner too, because you were at my table group. I remember you liked him.
Thank you. Let's see, Freddie Musquez.
Freddie is not here tonight.
Yeah. This is a chance to hear from Mrs. Adult.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm very happy to be back. I missed the last one because it was my birthday. And so pretty much what's been going on in the world of students is our last Superintendent Advisory Council meeting was on February 8th. Also my birthday. And we pretty much just talked about things that we wanted to do in terms of senior preparation for after college. We wanted to possibly implement some sort of program or bi-monthly office hours event where students get to learn from the counselors about life skills or maybe how to apply for a job or how to build a resume, because most of the skills that we learn in that regard, we learn our freshman year in our career ICT class, and by the time we are seniors, we have pretty much forgotten everything. So we were just thinking about doing that. Our next one is next Thursday, so at the April board meeting, I will be reporting on that.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to F. F is a consent calendar, and just for a change, I'd like to tell you what's on the consent calendar, which we don't normally spell it out so you know what really is going on. It's items that show up every month, like ratification of a report of purchases and checks issued, acceptance of donations, approval to dispose of obsolete materials, approval of university agreements, which we have several, approval of overnight and out-of-state field trips, approval of out-of-state travel. So this is all condensed into one thing called a consent calendar, but any board member can ask to have any item from that pulled and voted on separately. Just thought you'd like to know that as part of the excitement of the meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar items F1 through F6 as presented?
So moved. I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Hearing none, student preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Item G1, approval of personnel report. A call for a motion.
So moved. Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Student preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. G2, approval of revisions to special education job developer specialist job description. Calls for a motion.
So moved. Second. Okay.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Hearing none, a student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. G3, approval of the comprehensive school safety plans for the 24-25 year. This calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any comments?
I guess I'm just curious, since that was mentioned in the public comments, is there something we need to address there?
Mr. Burns made a comment around what are first offenses. To be very clear, actually, I was receiving communication from Mr. Velk, who's in the back, that just, for example, we suspend on the first offense if a student is involved in a fight or drugs. Those are egregious offenses, and we do suspend on the first offense for those types of things. It's the less egregious, less violent type things that are not automatically suspended. It still may. The operative word is may, not shall or shall not. So it's may. It still depends on the situation, and that's where we entrust our administrators to make those judgment calls. They know the students. They have history with them. They know the situation, what's best for them, and how to best approach those. But certainly on significant events, we do, on first offense, we'll suspend a student. And in some cases, depending on what that offense is, that might be an expulsion for a very first offense.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Student preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. G3, approval of the comprehensive school safety plans.
Oh, we did that one. G4.
Oh, okay. Appointment of representatives to serve on the Riverside County Special Education Local Plan Area Community Advisory Committee, which is abbreviated as SELPA. We call for a motion.
So moved. I'll second it.
Seconded. These representatives would be Susanna Macias, Ashley Lawler, Amanda Cafe, and Jacqueline Acosta. Been moved and seconded. Any comments?
Mr. Diffley, I would just like to give my vote of confidence to all four of these women. They are outstanding parent advisors for us, and they do great work with our CPAC, which is our Special Education Parent Advisory Committee, and they will represent us. They'll be stellar representatives for us at MVUSD.
Great, thank you. Student preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. G5, approval of the 2023/24 second interim financial report and filing a positive certification. Welcome, Mr. Whittington.
Thank you. Good evening, Board. This evening before you, we have the 23-24 second interim budget update. So it's an updated financial projection. I got the slides here for the school district. So the slide here is a visual of the various timeline or various points in time during the school year when we present financial information to you. So the blue boxes are reports that we present to the board. The green boxes represent things on the state's budget timeline. So we're always chasing kind of the state's timeline. So we're at the point of second interim. So we've had the governor's January budget proposal, which came after first interim. And then we'll repeat the cycle, go all the way back to the top as we look forward to the governor's May revise as we develop next year's budget. Overall, the economic picture has not changed much for the better since I presented in December. There still are significant economic headwinds at both the federal or the national and the state level. We continue to have high rates from the Federal Reserve, which at some point may drag on the economy. We have unemployment that's near historic lows, and it's going to be the marker the Fed has said to reduce rates as that becomes impacted. We're still seeing cost pressures across most major categories. While we've seen the rate of inflation decrease, there is still inflation in all areas. So we still see costs continue to escalate, although they're not escalating as fast as they were maybe last year. State revenues continue to lag projections from just the January budget projection. So just 2 months ago, the state has continued to miss their revenue projections. And while that's a troubling factor, there are some small nuggets of positive glimmers in there. California is heavily reliant on capital gains tax revenue, and we continue to see a strong stock market. So there may be some upside potentially, but that requires people to sell those stock holdings and report those capital gains and pay those taxes. And just as a side note, the governor's January budget proposal is not built on any presumption of a recession. So they are kind of assuming a Goldilocks scenario where things stabilize. So although there's missed revenue and budget shortfalls in the state budget that was presented in January, that's a better case scenario. It's not the worst case scenario. In second interim, we have updated projections from first interim. So we update our budget projections for the current year and the out years. We update our actual expenditures all the way through January 31st. That's where we have our actual data through. We update for our actual CalPADS enrollment that's been certified and our unduplicated pupil count percentage that's certified. And we also update our attendance projections to reflect attendance through December. And then, of course, we incorporate the governor's budget proposal and the impacts that has on us. So with that, we have before you the unrestricted general fund. The columns on the right-hand side of the slide, we have the adopted budget column that the board approved going into this year. We have the first interim budget column right adjacent to that was approved in December. We have our changes column, and then that blue column on the far right is the updated projections on, in this case, the unrestricted general fund. Some of the significant changes for the unrestricted side of the budget in the current year, we have a small increase in our LCFF revenues that we're projecting due to an increase in our attendance rate and also an increase in our UPP rate. So that's a positive. We have an increase in some of our unrestricted funding due to that increase in attendance. So some of our lottery funds that are driven by attendance numbers, we have reflected an increase in that. And then we have a local revenue increase primarily due to that high Federal Reserve rate is finally trickling into our county treasury interest earnings. And so we're recognizing some increased revenue for interest revenue for the money we have sitting in the county treasury. On the expenditure side, we have some savings due to vacancies, positions that have not been filled. We also have some savings due to reduction in special ed costs, mostly staffing on the special ed side, which results in a lower contribution. So you see it on the unrestricted side here as a reduction. You'll see it as a reduction on the restricted side of the budget in a second.
Okay.
On the restricted side of the budget, we have a couple increases in revenues. So our special ed grants for IDEA and actually SELPA funds that were received from the SELPA through our COE, we have some increases. And then we have some vacancy savings on the special ed side, offset by some increased special ed costs in some other areas. Also, on the restricted side of the budget, we have a rebalancing of costs in the ESSER plan, and we have an increase in expenditures for our theater lighting and infrastructure project that we're spending out of the Arts and Music Instructional Material Block Grant. And then you can see that $1.3 million reduction in the contribution that translates over to the unrestricted side of the budget. This slide summarizes those last two slides to give an overall picture. We have an increase in total revenues on the general fund side of things in the current year of just over $4.6 million, offset by expenditures decreasing by just over $100,000, resulting in an ending fund balance increase of just over $4.7 million, primarily one-time in nature. So at second interim, and actually all the reporting periods, we are not only looking at the current year financials, we're looking at the two out years as well. And so after going through the 23-24 year, we look ahead into the multi-year projection. And so what are some of the factors that affect our multi-year projections? We look at enrollment changes, including our TK expansion as the grade level the grade eligibility or the age eligibility for that grade expands. We look at current year ADA protection for LCFF funding, what that impact is in the out years based on attendance rates. We look at the state budget and the ability of the state to fund a COLA. On the expenditure side, we look at ways we can promote student learning through the maintenance of level of services or shifts in services. Of course, inflationary pressures will continue to impact us in the out years, and not just inflation on goods and services, but inflation in terms of cost increases for our pension programs that we participate in. Those rates continue to increase, as well as increase expectations from our labor partners for increase in wages. We have also projected our UPP will continue to increase. And then we have the expiration of our COVID funds, so things that we were funding out of COVID that will either go away or be shifted to other funding sources. So one thing to highlight and really emphasize in terms of the budget and our multi-year plan is how enrollment and average daily attendance affect our ability or our revenues in the out years. So this slide, the top bar is our enrollment. That red line is our enrollment from 21-22 through 25-26. The blue line at the bottom is our P2 average daily attendance, which we're typically funded on. However, in the current year, the state has provided an additional mechanism they started in the last 2 years to fund on either current year, prior ADA, which is a provision that has existed for many years, and they added a third one, the average of the prior 3 years. So the green bar that ends up being in the middle is where we've actually been funded, what our funded ADA has looked like. And so you can see in 21-22, there was a gap of about 1,600 students. So we had an actual attendance that was 1,600 students lower than we got funded for. So that was a positive for us as a district. In 22-23, that narrowed a little bit to 1,446 students. In the current year, we're being funded for a little over 615 students above what our attendance rate is. And then in 24-25, we expect that gap to narrow. And then in 25-26, we'll actually probably be funded on our current year ADA. So overall, in summary, our multi-year projection has some pros and some cons. So in the current year, on the unrestricted side of the budget, we have an increase in our ending fund balance in the current year, but you can see the blue line at the top. We're projecting that we will have decreases in our unrestricted ending fund balance in 24-25 and 25-26. That's what's typically called our deficit factor, deficit spending. On the restricted side, it works a little differently because typically we get those funds and they have to be spent for a specific purpose. But on the unrestricted side, that's where we really pay close attention. So the most important line on this is that blue line up at the top, where we identify that we have a little bit of deficit spending next year and the out year that we need to address going forward. So overall, the impacts of all the changes in our projections, we anticipate that our ending fund balance in the current year will total just under 118 million this year, 98 million next year, and drop to 69.4 million in that third year. A large portion of that ending fund balance is considered restricted, so it must be spent for specific purposes. So you can see that balance is decreasing over that 3-year period. But most importantly, you see that unassigned or committed line that starts out at just under 61 million in 23-24, quickly shrinks to just 24 million in 25-26. And that's really the runway we have to make adjustments for the budget. But overall, we're in a strong financial position.
Okay.
So future considerations and next steps, we will continue to monitor the economic factors and we'll see what happens in the governor's May revision. That'll come out in mid-May. We don't anticipate there will be positive upside in the May revision based on the economic data we've seen to date. District staff will begin preparing the estimated actuals in the 24-25 adopted budget in conjunction with development of our 24-25 LCAP. And for all those reasons, we are proposing a positive certification, which is before you tonight, saying that the 23-24 second interim budget and multi-year projection indicate that Merida Valley will be able to meet its financial obligations for the current year, 23-24, and the 2 successive fiscal years. Okay. And before I open it up for questions, I just want to thank our fantastic Director of Fiscal Services, Samantha Tamayan, who does a tremendous job putting all this budget data together. It's this huge book that she puts together multiple times a year with all kinds of lines of data that I think would make most people's heads spin a little bit. So, and the coordination that goes along with all the divisions and departments across the district to get this done. So, with that, I'll open up for any questions.
You mentioned that I kind of hung on to there, that the state continues to miss its projections, and they have a Goldilocks projections for the future that they're basing their assumptions on. And you also just ended with saying that you expect the May revision to also miss due to economic forecasts. I'm just kind of curious. So it doesn't look bright, and we are deficit spending currently. Is this correct?
We're not currently deficit spending. We're projecting that we'll deficit spend in the next 2 years.
Within the next 2 years. Okay. Thank you for that.
Other questions? Hearing none. G5, approval of the 2023-24 second interim financial report and filing a positive certification. Accept a motion.
So moved to approve?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any comments?
I'm just impressed with the staff putting together the report. I think you guys do a great job with the finances here. I'm so impressed. Thank you.
Second that. Student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. G6 is the approval to award a contract to San Diego Restaurant Supply and Arrow Restaurant Equipment and Supplies for kitchen equipment in response to request for proposal number 2023-2024-08NS. This calls for a motion.
So moved?
Second.
Comments? Hearing none. Student preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries 5-0. G7, approval of memorandum of understanding between Marietta Valley Unified School District and Community Food Pantry of Marietta. This calls for a motion.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any comments?
So this is us donating our excess food to the food pantry, is that correct? That's awesome, Mrs. Lancaster. Thank you so much for caring for our community and avoiding that waste.
Any other comments? Student preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you, Mrs. Dudall. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. 5-0. G8, approval to award a contract to Rancho Pacific Electric in the amount of $1,599,500 for the high school theater replacement installation package bid number 23-24-10.
So
This
moved.
calls for a motion.
Sorry, so moved.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any comments?
Long overdue.
Long overdue.
I'd like to have a little discussion about this. So my first question is, are 8 and 9, they're related to the same project, is that right?
Correct. Those are two contracts that is related to the same 3 high school project.
Yeah, okay. Yes, I'm just wondering, I know that we all approved this unanimously in January of 2023, where we set aside $2 million for this, is that right? In the facilities update.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So, and so I guess I see that, I went back and looked at that, so I see that it's a showcase program in our district, and so that's one of the reasons why we're, emphasizing this. But I guess I'm wondering, is there anything wrong with the current system? And the reason I'm asking this is because I'm just wondering if, since we're considering a facilities bond here coming up, and this is kind of a finance question too that I'm not, qualified to answer, but I'm wondering if it might be better, since maybe we need to be, do some belt tightening, if it would be better to hold off on this and maybe do this with the facilities bond.
So I'll have Mr. Daniel, because there is a need, there's kind of a pressing need, especially in one of our particular older high school theaters.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, I can go ahead and expand on that a little bit. I appreciate that thought. Bond, if we're fortunate enough to go to the bond in November, it would be a couple of years until we would even have an opportunity to be able to garner money to be able to put it to whatever project. And this particular project, we started working with consultant and architects and after the 22-23 board workshop, looking at our facilities. Currently, Mérida Mesa has the newest technology, but our school district has not prioritized dollars for lighting projects since Mérida Valley and opened in 1991. So we're still dealing with incandescent bulbs and older lighting systems there. Vista Mérida High School is the same. Each school site is upgraded as they could with site dollars. And so this gives us an opportunity to take those teaching spaces and make them consistent across the board. We have a lot of kids who participate in the use of the lighting systems, be it from, holding a light to being under the spotlight. And so this gives us an equal opportunity for our kids to be able to learn on industry level systems, in addition to the energy savings that we'll muster from it as well. And so the opportunity that we're taking right now was based upon our goals and directions conversation a couple years ago. It's just taken us a little bit to be able to develop a plan that one we can execute and afford, but at the same time, really designed with that curricular equity. So all of our kids, no matter what high school they go to, get to work on industry grade equipment because they don't do that now. So very disparate equipment from each school site. And so this opportunity is, you'll see the one is for the electrical engineering, all the components there. The second one is the fixtures, actually the lighting units that would be added to that.
Just in terms of timing, because we had set the money aside, it was part of the plan we had adopted. We actually went out, correct me, but I want to say we went out early in the fall and did a bid opening, and this in the original package came out $1 million higher than this combined amount. And we did not bring it forward for consideration. We're like, no, we're not going to do that. And so a very talented team over in facilities and purchasing reworked the bids and the package and went out again, and we came in at these better prices that we feel very comfortable with.
All right, thank you.
That was pretty clever, actually, that splitting it like that brought the price down significantly.
They're not going to pull a fast one on us.
Okay, let's see. Have I read it? Yeah.
Yes.
And
And there's a first and a second on the before us.
That's right. Any more comments? Student preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. G9, approval to award a contract to LIT Lighting LLC in the amount of $641,000, $641,298.68 for the high school theater lighting upgrade fixtures and accessories bid number 2023-24-11. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? Student preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Moving on to G10. Motion adopted, by the way. G10, adoption of resolution number 23/24-16 to procure supplemental transportation services. Need a motion on this.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? Could we get an explanation on that?
Darren, would you like to comment on that one, please?
Yeah, so we go out to bid. So we have a finite field of yellow fleet. And so as you hear from our kids, we have a bustling school community that requires a lot of transportation, and we don't own the units necessary. So we have to rely on outside charters to be able to transport our students. And so we went through bid and didn't receive the quantity of bids that we needed to transport our kids. And so this just goes through the process that we can go out and hire additional charters as needed for our after-school programs, be it athletics or field trips. And so this keeps us legal by documenting what we've gone through bid. The bid was not successful, and it allows us to be able to continue that search for outside transportation providers.
Now, will this be alleviated at all in the distant future with electrics?
we have like I said, a finite space right now. It would require us to be able to expand a bus lot and units to be able to service all the things that we do. We have a lot of activity. I don't know if yesterday, just alone, being able to service the band event at Vista Merida High School with our middle schools and high schools, it requires a number of units. And our focus historically has been a home to school transportation is what we provide on the daily. But above and beyond that, we have a lot of different field trips and activities that require busing our kids. And so when we go out to bid, we have to not only find a company that has units, but they have proper credentials as well. It's not so, a city bus is not the same as a school bus. And so they call it a SPAD driver certificate. And so we have to have kind of that upper level of certification to transport a child. And so we are limited to who we can shop with. And this resolution will give us that ability to do so outside those who have bid or provided bid for us.
That's good to know.
And
Really
Mr.
is.
Diffley, this doesn't even take into account all the transportation of the various teams, athletic teams, color guard band, drum line, all of us. And carpool parent here, I'm driving out twice out to Palm Desert tonight, or this weekend, with a car full of young women. And it falls on the parents to do that. So thank you for doing this as much as we can. I know it's so needed.
Yeah, we would prefer to have our own employees use our own buses and move our own students. But they're
Right.
simply, if
There
you've
aren't.
looked in the back lot, there are buses everywhere, and they're usually double stacked. It's tricky to navigate the back parking lot. We simply don't have enough space in this building to have a sufficient bus yard. And so if we did have more space, we could purchase more buses and we could hire more drivers, and we could do that. We just don't have the real estate to do it.
Yeah. The good news is our fleet is increasing with electric buses. We just finished the electrification project, and so we are training on our electric buses as we speak. And so they're on the road. So if you see a quiet bus, it's electric.
And just like the diesel buses and the natural gas buses, they require service stations, which take up space
Yep.
and money.
Yep. And we have all those. So yes.
Okay, where are we at?
There's a first and a second.
Need a first and a second.
I already have that.
Oh, you have
I
a
misspoke.
second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did I ask for student
You can ask
preferential
her now.
vote? Oh, thank you. Okay, I didn't want to leave you out of this by any means. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Yeah, okay, great. Motion carried. G11, adoption of resolution number 23/14-17, authorization to encumber funds for fiscal year 24-25. Calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Student preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Approval of deductive change order totaling minus $99,241 for the Marietta Elementary new classroom building project. This calls for motion.
Just real quick, item G12 and G13, those you can tell are the same dollar amount. We're moving one piece of work from one contractor to another contractor, so those two are related. But there are two items to go through.
Motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments? Student preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. G13, approval of change order totaling $99,241 for the Marietta Elementary new classroom building project. This calls for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Student vote in favor?
Aye.
Yes, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries 5-0. G14, review of Associated Student Body financial reports for the quarter ending December 31st, 2023. The board has received these reports for review. Okay. Item H, Dr. Andrus, Superintendent Report.
Thank you, President Diffley. Appreciate the time, and go ahead and we'll try for 3 minutes again. I think I can do it. We're delighted of the news of three distinguished schools of McElhaney Vista and Murrieta Mesa. We're going to celebrate them further at a state recognition in May, and we'll update something fun with banners and painted signs and so forth. This just adds to the collection of the achievement of these great schools. We appreciate the hard work. At the end of last month, we held an important board workshop on February 27th. You can go online and watch it. It's lots of hours of conversation. We reviewed our accomplishments last year and also updated our goals and directions that are in final revision we presented next board meeting. These, I very much, in addition to like the things we put in our LCAP, these are big, broad goals. To me, I find these very important. As superintendent, it lays out the direction district-wide, where are we going and what's most important. Our trustees have a chance to comment on that. We ask our labor partners to have a comment and include on that discussion. But importantly, you can look at last year's goals and directions and what we accomplished, what we said we were going to do and what actually got accomplished during the course of the year. We'll repeat that process again with the next set. It's my hope that every employee can find themselves somewhere in those goals and directions, like they participated in something, they contributed to something to move the district forward. Just in addition to the regular operations of what we do, how we seek improvement. Later in the same meeting, we discussed our master facilities plan. We reviewed the formal poll results from the bond feasibility study. The indications from that proposed bond that would not increase a property tax polled about 63%, even after the negative arguments about increased taxes and inflation and so forth. There was still a lot of that. And you heard it tonight from one of our public commenters. The research firm was, their recommendation was proceed with a bond and let the voters make that decision. We also reviewed our enrollment projections, compared that with the capacities on each campus. That was a little startling when we looked at, if we do nothing, what will happen to some of our schools. For years, our work has been on the east side of town, but now it's on the west side of town. And so we have to take a look at how we address the west side of town. The west side of town is quiet and calm, right? We anticipate some changes coming in the coming years, and that'll impact our community on that side. So we have to take a look at that. Just as a point of reference, I did some research, and our enrollment projection for this year was 22,245 students. Today's enrollment is 22,474 students. So even during the course of the year, our enrollment is up above what our projected was, based on the numbers I found today. Lastly, and Mr. Diffley also mentioned it, our families received the digital version of our career readiness brochure. It's kind of a formal change in the messaging about what the intent of our district is. It's not just college for all. We really want our students to be able to chart a path and to identify that apprenticeships, college and university, along with military careers or trade school programs, are all of equal value. And so we're heading to the final 50 days. Lots of celebrations and activities. Yes, 50 days. Today is day 130. All right, there you go. You have finals coming up. Thank you, Mr. Diffley.
Nice job. I'll try to do the same 3 minutes.
You don't have to.
I attended as our delegate the school organization committee up at Riverside Office of Education, just mostly a swearing in of new members. I have to mention that after the smash hit of Chicago, at Vista Murrieta, Murrieta Mesa put on Mean Girls, received wild acclamation by the audience, at least when I was there. A lot of fun and great job by the kids. Again, band performances this week. And, we're looking for a balance so that we can get as much as possible every school balanced across the board. And your comments about East Side and West Side really hit home, because you don't often think about that in those terms. But we really need to do that. And I'll tell you, I have struggled for years with ever since the late 70s, early 80s, everybody's going to go to college. Biggest bunch of misinformation, misspelling, that ever came out in public education. And I can't imagine how many kids' lives were distorted or off on the wrong path because of it. And we're trying to get that balance back. And I think we've got a good plan for it. I'm excited about it. The one thing that is necessary is that not all our campuses have a lot of space anymore. I've with Dr. Andis, taken a ride around most of the campuses, especially the high schools and middle schools. And we need buildings to house these particular kinds of activities. You can't put a wood shop in a regular classroom. You can't put a welding shop in a regular classroom. It just doesn't work. So we're trying to work that out, but we intend to achieve that balance, and I'm very much excited about it. Let's see. I call for an motion to adjourn the Board of Education. Oh, wait a minute.
Don't cut into my time now.
Well, you told me to close it early. Oh, no, never mind, sorry. All right.
I think.
Mrs. Young.
Okay.
Gave you extra time, didn't I? I mean,
Okay, so I'm still going to the Rotary Club meetings. The thing we're working on right now is going through scholarship applications for Dollars for Scholars. So I'm going to meet and do that, work on that next week. I was at the Superintendent's Council meeting on curriculum back in February. I took Murrieta Valley High School, their CTE teachers, up on their invitation to go to the Ben Clark Training Center. It was really interesting. I had not been there before. They train all kinds of first responders, police, firefighters, EMTs, and so on. There were also counselors and professors from Moreno Valley College there, because Moreno Valley College kind of partners. For example, if they go to Moreno Valley College, they have 2-year programs there where the students can come out and get a job paying $85,000 a year. And they're also going to start a bachelor's degree there in emergency management. A few of us went to the Riverside County State of Education address last week. I love those things. They highlight positive things going on in various districts, and we get good ideas from each other. So it's my favorite thing about it. Okay, so I went on 3 site visits. I went to Antelope Hills Elementary and Tovashaw Elementary, and one thing that always strikes me with elementary, if you walk into multiple classrooms teaching the same grade level, they are doing pretty much the same thing at the same time. So you can tell those teachers are really working together. I also got to go to Murrieta Canyon for the first time. I found that really interesting. I went into multiple classrooms. I saw Avery in her class, not Avery. Yeah, it was Avery. I'm sorry, I got the name mixed up. The atmosphere was really nice there. It was very relaxed. You could tell that the students are very comfortable with their teachers. You know, they were hanging out in the quad during their break. It was just, I really liked the atmosphere. And, you know, this morning I went to the Student of the Month breakfast. This kind of overlaps into it. But the student who got the Student of the Month award from Murrieta Canyon told us she's had multiple offers from universities already, like CSUs, UC, Arizona, New Mexico. So people might assume, you know, people going to alternative schools aren't going to college, but some of them are. You know, some of them are, some of them aren't. You know, they're. But yeah, it has a nice atmosphere. Okay, and I did want to bring. I know this has been talked about, but I think it's fantastic that 3 of our schools are getting California Distinguished School Awards. I looked on the list too. There were no other districts that had 3, and most of them didn't have more than 1. So anyway, guess it's okay to bring it up again, and that's all I have. So,
Ms. Vandegrift.
All right, so this past month, I attended the superintendent's community engagement series on curriculum development, and I highly recommend, I invite everyone to come. The next meeting is April 29th at the Vista Marietta Library at 6 p.m. I also attended the superintendent's community engagement series on the whole child, and this meeting presented the approaches to discipline used within the multi-tiered system of support framework in conforming with evolving state law. And the next meeting for that, which I also recommend, is May 20th at 6 p.m., also in the Vista Marietta Library. I visited several math classes of different levels at Vista Marietta High School and was able to observe different teaching methods of the same math standards. I saw the 5-Star app in action and experienced the Valentine's Day buzz on the campus, the Sugar High. And then I attended also, as did my colleagues here, the board workshop. In the morning, we discussed direction setting for the 24-25 school year and discussed the mid-year metric updates in the areas of student learning, student intervention, professional growth, and climate and culture. And then kind of related to that, there's a bill currently in the California Assembly, AB 2222, that would require what they're calling evidence-based literacy instruction, featuring explicit and systematic phonics instruction that adheres to the science of reading. So I know from a previous site visit that I went on where we saw intervention classes, I know this is a professional development goal for our elementary teachers, because I guess in times in the past, some of the teachers were trained in something that they called balanced literacy, which was maybe more of a whole language approach. This is what the bill is saying. And anyway, so whether or not this bill passes, I believe that our school district should try and follow the recommendation of the Legislative Analyst's Office and, you know, prioritize core programs like this, like the science of reading. Anyway, back to the workshop. In the afternoon, the topic was facilities master planning, where we heard from the 5 consultants, which Dr. Andrus mentioned, about bond feasibility, general obligation bonds, Murrieta's history of school bonds, and district enrollment projections, which, as he mentioned, on the west side, we're really looking at an increase. And also, if you go to YouTube, you can see that meeting, and I think probably if the people want the packet that went with it, they could probably request that from the district office, yeah. And then I attended a middle school achievement meeting where we discussed the measures being used to help middle school students succeed and make a smooth transition to high school. Principal Terry Pichicino presented a student planner system that's currently in use at Warm Springs Middle School that provides a place for students and teachers to prioritize and organize student academic support via scheduled office hours. And so teachers collectively assess where each student's needs lie, and they stamp the student's planner so that the student knows in advance where they will attend office hours and get targeted support. And then lastly, just real quick, I watched the Lozano-Smith primer on artificial intelligence for public agencies and school districts, and the CSBA considerations for local agencies budgeting in an uncertain fiscal climate. And that's all for me. I guess
Thank
I went
you.
over.
Mrs. Lunn.
All right, don't set the timer because I'm going to try to hurry, but I think it's about 4 minutes. I know I usually go through my whole list of everything I've done, and I do all the things that everybody up here is doing, so I won't repeat all that. This past week has been California School Boards Association Legislative Action Week, and that's where school board members from local legislators' areas meet with them. So on Tuesday, I was able to meet with Senator Ciarto. He actually met with us. It was a Zoom meeting, but he actually met with us, and then also with Assemblymember Sanchez's staff. And the things we discussed, the things we asked them to support were to really look at the $8 billion that Governor Newsom is proposing borrowing from Prop 98. Prop 98 are the funds that, you know, fund schools. And he has a plan to he would like to borrow $8 billion from that on a repayment plan over a course of 5 years. We know how those repayment plans go. They usually don't get repaid, and it's just, again, taking money, and it reduces the amount of money that's left to be given to school districts. So we asked that the state legislators not to support that effort that Governor Newsom is proposing. Also, there are 2 bills that are being proposed that would ask the CDE to go back and sort of audit all of the reports that they ask us to send in. We send in between 40 and 50 reports every year. Many of those reports have been done for years. Some of them we really question, are we even collecting the information? Is anybody using all of this information? Much of it is duplicated. In small school districts where you have a superintendent who's also a principal, who's also a teacher, and may sometimes serve lunch or drive a bus, still has to fill out those 40 to 50 reports. So these two bills are asking them just to go through, audit, find what they can streamline, because we have whole teams of people that do that, and we pay whole teams of people to do that. And is that really good use of our money? And the answer, we believe, is no. Also, there's something that didn't really apply to our area here. It was creating a small districts facilities department, because 60% of the school districts in California do qualify as small districts, maybe under 10,000. And again, we have whole teams of people that can help with facilities and writing grants and doing bonds and stuff, and they just don't. They need more help than we do. And then finally, we asked the legislators to support the state bond, to get it on the ballot, to let the voters decide. They don't have to support the bond themselves. We're not asking them to check yes, voting for it, but to let the voters decide on this bond. The neat thing about if the state bond went on, and if we decide to go with our bond, it could be a 50% matching. So the bond that we're looking at is at $198 million. Get my numbers right, because I say it wrong every single time. This bond could match up to $100 million more, giving us $300 million in facilities bond money. So again, we just ask them, you don't have to like it, you don't have to not like it. Please put it on the ballot, let the voters decide. I want to do a shout out to Avaha. Dr. Anders, thank you so much for including the school's monthly reports that they do. They are incredible, and I hope that all of us are reading them, because amazing things are going on. So 2 things that went on at Avaha. They had a family math and literacy night. Over 80 students attended with their parents, so that's probably close to 300 people when you think about it. They had math games, they had literacy games, they had the book fair. 3 people got a shout out: Danica Rosedale, Ann Whittington, and Ann Hosfield, along with all the classroom teachers and their library media tech, Lee Titford, who did all the planning and running of this terrific event, and fun was had by all. Also, and I think Mrs. Henshaw, is she out in the lobby? I thought she was there and she got up. Also at Avaha, they were tracking attendance and realized that there was a group of kids, about 60 kids, who were having chronic absenteeism, all coming from one area because there wasn't a safe a way to walk from that area to get to school. So Mrs. Henshaw and Transportation and the school got together to provide busing for those 60 students. So I'm waiting to hear what the results are back with their attendance. Awesome, right? And then finally, Mr. Diffley, this one's for you, about VAPA in the schools. You guys remember the catastrophic campfire that roared through Northern California's Butte County School District in 2018, right? Took 86 lives. I want to tell you this. It spread at the rate of 80 football fields a minute. It was catastrophic and traumatic, and they're still dealing with the trauma of that. And one of the things that they wanted to try out, an arts education coordinator, Jennifer Spangler, was to try out, I lost my place, sorry. It makes sense that we want to create something that directly addresses it, even years now after conflagration. So they brought in a teaching artist who has worked with children in public schools, Paradise Public Schools, as well as those at the juvenile hall school. He believes that theater, and we just passed 2 things on the theater, can be a kind of restorative practice, helping students heal from their wounds in a safe space. Arts education is so effective in working with students impacted by trauma because of the creative process that operates on an instinctual level. All arts are basically a way to tell a story, and as human beings, we are hardwired to exchange in storytelling as both participant and observer, and a mutual bond of respect and trust develops among the group as they observe each other's performances and make each other laugh. Over time, the environment takes on a more relaxed and safe quality. So kudos for passing that to the board. It was a good idea.
Thank you. Mr. Pardue.
Yeah, I've had a busy month as well, but my focus, and I'm going to try to keep this as brief as I can, has been on the profile of a graduate. And it kind of goes right up the alley for when I was running for election, which I focus on the idea of parental choice. And as we've talked a lot about how not all kids are going to go to college, that was kind of a big talking point A lot of the parents, a lot of the issues that are coming up actually on the board are things that came up as you walk the neighborhoods, knocking on doors, you start talking to people. Other issues came up, but this one's my issue. Not not everyone's going to college, not every child needs to be in physics and chemistry. It is a huge misstep. Our curriculum needs to keep pace with what we're doing and how we're preparing for kids. So there's educational gaps that we're missing when we focus too much on A through G requirements. And I would like us to completely stop, at least if you're going to give a report for me, stop talking about graduation rates. Because a graduation rate doesn't mean anything if the kids don't have the skill set. And I'd like to know what the skills are that our students have as they graduate. I don't want to hear that they graduated. The reason I say this is as a classroom teacher, and of course my whole social group is teachers, we know that there's a problem. And one of those problems is we have a lot of homework policies where we accept late work. And late work being accepted would be fine if we really knew that the students were doing the work. Most parents know, if you pay attention, and most teachers know and will admit that there's tons of kids that just get pictures sent to them of what the homework is, and then they turn around and they turn it in. We don't really know if they know that. And so they have a great homework grade. I hear this so many times. My homework grade, Mrs. Pardue, I'm just really bad at tests. You're going to be really bad at tests if you just keep copying homework and you're not engaged. You're not either there for the lecture, you're not engaged in the classroom activities, you're not reading and really trying to learn the assignments that you're being assigned. And we have to make sure that we're considering this, when we're looking at this. I think we should have some kind of internal measure to make sure that the skills that the students have as they graduate reflect what they're learning in the class. And there's some things that are being missed. And I feel like it's something that we all, as adults, should be able to agree on. Let's make sure our kids leave as prepared as they can. I had a representative from the Pipe Fitters Union talk to me about how they have to start teaching math to kids because our focus is so much on the college level math and trying to get kids ready for college that the kids aren't as prepared to do fractions and percentages. And as a result, the pipe fitters just kind of like, hey, what's going on? Additionally, they're always hiring, they hire first. Always hiring because they're always firing because people aren't showing up on time. And there's another part about our education system is that we need to teach our kids all the other skills, right? So when we take late work, we're kind of saying there's no deadlines. And whether I'm in college or anywhere else, if I'm ignoring deadlines, I can't give a presentation to a delegation, let's say it comes from Japan, and they're only here for these days, and you're not ready. You don't get to keep your job. And so if we continue to do this over a period of time, that becomes a behavior. And I know from my students, my kids, who are off in college, they said a lot of these behaviors continue. And as a result, they're really not prepared. And so I feel like we are hurting our kids in that way. And I think we just need to pay attention to that. The other thing I've talked a lot about, middle school standards and behaviors. I do appreciate the systems I've heard a lot about. And I think there's some issues in the middle schools that we need to pay attention to. Behaviors and study habits are something where there's a lot of what you call the scaffolding for those students to try to help get them in those habits, right? But as we get to high school, we need to become independent learners, thinkers, critical thinkers, and really learn that we are responsible as human beings for our own education. So I'm advocating for that, and I just hope that we can all agree on some of those issues. And again, the more things we can agree on and focus on our students' achievements, I think the better off our whole community is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I call for a motion to adjourn the Board of Education meeting at 7:08 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Hearing none. All in student preferential vote. Aye. I'm glad. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.